Well, hello team, it's me, Phil, here again for another Tuesday Tips Live. I'm back in the studio after taking a short break over Easter, and today we're talking about speakers, and we're talking about whether you need big posh speakers or whether little speakers will be better, whether you can get away with a boombox for DJ practice, for doing your DJing in the house, for getting your sets right, for practicing over and over again behind closed doors, bedroom DJing, maybe even pulling them into the living room to play in front of your friends and family, that kind of thing. What kind of speakers do you need? What's necessary? Do you have to spend a lot of money on individual monitor speakers such as these ones, the new Pioneer VM70s I've got here? Would something a little bit more modest do, like these little M Audio BX4s here? Or as I say, could you get away with just getting a boombox, a JBL Bluetooth speaker? I've got as an example there a Charge 4, which I've borrowed from my daughter, stolen from her bedroom to come in here today in order to show you. So that's what we're talking about today. I'd love to know your views on this, what's important to you when it comes to speakers for DJing. The reason we're talking about this is that these have just been launched. We've just published a review over on Digital DJ Tips right now, which you can see there. And this review is about the posh new Pioneer DJ VM series speakers. And a few people spoke to us about this when these were launched last week and said, do I really need to spend that kind of money on speakers and so on? So we thought this would be a good time to bring that discussion into the Digital DJ Tips world via Tuesday Tips Live. So as always, if you're just joining us and you don't know what this is, we're Digital DJ Tips. We're the people behind the #1 selling book on how to DJ on Amazon, Rock the Dance Floor. Also the people behind the Digital DJ Tips DJ School with 25 DJ courses covering everything, which are all currently on Easter offer, believe it or not. So if you want to grab a DJ course, there you go. You can do so easily by heading over to the Digital DJ Tips sale page and having a look there on the website. All our courses up to 45% off. So that's who we are, that's Digital DJ Tips. This show is all about a topic that I pick every week that the students are talking about, and the idea is that you can join in as well. So if you're watching, especially if you're watching the YouTube replay and thinking, just show me some DJ speakers, it's not one of those 5-minute videos. You're watching a recording of a show. And if you want to get involved, the best thing to do is get involved. You can do so by subscribing. On YouTube, it's here, but also we're on Twitch. Hello, everyone over on Twitch. And I can see all your comments wherever you are. Hello, everyone on Mixcloud, and also on our Facebook group and Facebook page as well. Subscribe to one of those, click the bell, click the show posts first, and then you get told when we go live with these things and you can join in. That's what it's all about. The recordings are a pale imitation of the real thing. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so before we get started talking about speakers and which speakers are right for DJing, I just want to say a few very early hellos to our regulars and to people saying hi in the chat. Hi to Mixmaster G in snowy Netherlands. Yeah, a lot of snow going on in Northern Europe at the moment. Hi to GM, Salvation Drum and Bass. Hi to Avinav. Hello to AC1 Music, also there in Amsterdam. Robert, to Fires Entertainment in Gloucestershire in the United Kingdom. To Seda, to Modish Mark in Seattle, to Renato, to Parliament, to Bence, who says the title is not really matching. Maybe we've had an issue getting our titles live. I don't know, it's too late for me to check that now. But anyway, if the title's not really right, then sorry about that. To DJ99 and to Salvation Drum and Bass, I'm just going to tell my team actually that the titles may not be right because they can probably fix those up. Are the titles right on the live? If not, please fix. There we go. See, we've got a team here who can help us with this stuff, and I'm going to now cut and paste what they should be over to the team. Right, okay, so that's a few early hellos done anyway. Hello to Martin as well. I'm desperate to know now whether we've got the titles right. Does it say that this is Tuesday Tips Live, people, on where you've looked? Does it say Phil Morse live DJ set instead, which is what the titles were before? Let me know. Hopefully it says Phil. Well, my team are telling me now. I'm not going to escape if I've made a mistake here. Yeah, okay. So Lauren, please can you try and fix those titles? There's been a glitch there. It still says it's me DJing live. It's not me DJing live. We're talking about DJ speakers today. Right, okay, let's do it. Let's talk about these speakers. So we've got them over here. And these are pretty posh. These are the Pioneer VM70s. These are individual monitor speakers. That means that they are bought individually. They've got their own amplifiers in. In fact, they've each got 2 amplifiers in, or one to do this speaker and one to do that speaker. And they also have lots of extra features which are designed for DJs and for producers who need those features. Stuff like built-in digital signal processors to keep the frequency nice and flat, or to give it a boost so it sounds a bit more like club bass and so on. They're big. They're heavy and they're quite expensive. These are about $200 to $300 depending on which size you buy in the range. These are called monitor speakers, and these are related to the kind of monitor speakers you see in studios where they have big ones on the left and the right hand side, and they're all kind of all sat there lost in the sound and so on. This is kind of like the consumer, more budget version of those. Then down here we have these mid-range speakers. Well, what I say mid-range, they're kind of mid in the range we've got here, but these are really a budget speaker. These are from M Audio. These are called the BX4s. Now, in theory, these look similar to these, right? I mean, all right, they're a little bit smaller, but they look similar. They are, you know, they are a square speaker with a woofer for the bass and a tweeter for the treble, and there's 2 of them. And the idea is that you put one on each side of your DJ gear in order to do your stuff, right? But there's some crucial differences, not only size and price, but also the fact that these are sold usually in a primary and secondary setup. So what does that mean? That means that the primary speaker, this one here, has got all the clever stuff in it. So if we cut to the overhead camera here and look on the back of this speaker, this has got your inputs, left and right stereo inputs, balanced or unbalanced. It's also got an output to the other speaker, and this is the key thing because they come with a cable. The other speaker here has got nothing on the back of it at all. It's just got a cable, and the cable plugs, he said, trying to pick it up and get it in place, into there. So there's only one mains electricity going into the pair of these, unlike the bigger speakers I've got over here, where of course they're individual, they're sold separately. They both come with their own power supply, their own amplifiers, their own everything. So these speakers here are not as sophisticated as these. You're not going to get the best sound out of these compared to these. These are Class D amplifiers, isolated for each speaker. These have got less sophisticated amplification in them, but there's advantages to using these smaller speakers as well. Firstly, these tend to be smaller, so they fit better on your desk and so on. But secondly, they have both inputs on one speaker. So with these, you have to have cables to get your left hand to the left hand speaker, your right hand to the right hand speaker. And also these tend to have more things going on the front. So again, if we look from the overhead camera here, you'll see that on the front, we've got the on-off is on the front for both of them. And you've got your headphone socket and your auxiliary in socket here, so you can get extra stuff running very easily into these speakers. And that tends to be the case with these kind of smaller speakers, and that doesn't tend to be the case with these bigger ones. These bigger ones are more singular, if you like. So when you're considering what to get, and by the way, if this rings a bell in your head, it's because these are basically based on computer speakers. You know those computer speakers you used to buy and put, well, do people still buy those? Little Logitech things or whatever, and put one on each side? And they were always wired together with a wire, weren't they? And then they just plugged one lead into the computer. They're kind of grown-up versions of those. But they might be better for you if you're in a smaller room, if you have less room to play with. You also want to permanently plug other things in. Some of these have got Bluetooth as well, so you can have, you know, music streaming from your phone into them when you need to. And more, maybe a better all-round speaker than the more singular DJ production monitor speakers that we've got here. And of course cheaper. These are about 200 each. I think these are about 130 a pair, if that. Or do you just go for a speaker like this? These sound awesome, right? These sound amazing nowadays. Do you just go for I don't only mean the JBL ones, there's all kinds of brands. These are great little things for the money. They're battery powered, so you can use them everywhere. You can use them at home, chuck it in your bag and use it anywhere you want to go with it. Really loud. They tend to have built-in processors to keep the sound nice at all volumes. And they also have, which is essential by the way, a line-in socket. So on this one here, there's a line-in socket here. Now, without a line-in socket, which allows you to plug a lead from your DJ gear to your speaker, no point. Don't even buy them. Don't even look at them. They won't work properly. And the reason they won't work properly is that you can't use Bluetooth with DJ gear. You need to have a wire. But buyer beware, because just because these have got a wire going to them, it doesn't mean they're going to work for DJing. What we've found out in our testing is that a lot of these, including this one I'm holding here, there's a delay. When you plug in a wire, there's still a delay, as if it was Bluetooth, a small delay in the signal. So if you plug some headphones into your DJ gear and listen to the music on the headphones and then listen to it on here, the hi-hats would be hitting a bit late on here. That's what you tend to hear, the hi-hats. So it's not good when that happens. So with speakers like this, getting one that you can plug a wire into is not enough. You need to check there's no delay on them as well. And the best way to do that is by testing it. Now we use a little speaker by a company called Mini Rig, which I couldn't bring today. Mini Rig speakers work fine. I think Anchor speakers, is it Anchor, A-N-K-A-R? All of those seem to be fine from what our audience are telling us. None of the JBLs and none of the Bose speakers work when you, the little ones, the little Bluetooth ones, when you plug a lead into them for DJ gear. So just be careful if you're going to use a little speaker. Obviously, if you've already got one, just plug it in and find out. But be careful if you're buying one. Ask if you can take it home and test it, and make sure that there's a policy you can take it back if there is a slight audio delay. But which one do you go for? Well, look, I'm not here to tell you have to buy big speakers like this. Laid Back Luke uses a big version of one of these. Now, I don't know whether he has that little audio delay on it or not. I did ask him and he's like, I don't know, Phil. I tend to DJ in my headphones. I just have that for everyone else in the room. But he just uses a boomboxy speaker, albeit a big expensive one. If you've got a DJ desk, which is also where you sit and work, maybe you can't fit two big monitors in like this. Maybe something a lot smaller, which has got the extra inputs in and has got ways of you plugging in all the things you need, including maybe using them with Bluetooth. Maybe that's more important than audio quality. But if you want the top audio quality, you have to go for the top speakers, because the more money you spend, the more you're going to get for your money. So these have got Class D amplification, which means that they're very highly efficient. So I think these have got 70 watt for the bass speakers and 30 for the top speakers, but about 115 decibels output. So these go loud in a way that smaller ones can never do. The bigger the speaker, the better the bass. But also, one thing to remember with speakers is that you can buy the best speaker in the world, but if you haven't thought about two things: one, the positioning of them. So they need to be pretty much equidistant from your ears, and also height-wise, you don't want them too low or too high. You want them to be kind of level with your ears, the positioning of them, but also the size of them for the room that you've got them in. It'd be stupid having speakers like this in a broom cupboard, right? And it'd be stupid having a speaker like that in a club. So matching the speaker to the room size-wise, and also making sure you thought about positioning is really important. A lot more important than you know, tiny differences in sound quality. But that's the final thing I wanted to say. No one can tell you whether a speaker is right for you, because your ears are different to everyone else's. My ears are probably a bit shot in the high frequencies because of years and years of what I've done to them. So I like speakers that are nice and bright because it cuts through that. That's my enjoyment, that's my sweet spot. And speakers that have ways of adjusting maybe the audio for the room that you're in. Now, most of these don't tend to have EQ on them. There's no EQ on that. I don't think there's any EQ on this. Yeah, there's a tiny bit of EQ on this. That you can adjust around the back of them here, just a tiny bit to trim the highs and lows. But the idea is you set and forget that. These here do have on the back EQ. These actually have a digital signal processor here, which lets you set various, it's got little graphs that show you what you can set. So you can set the low frequencies to various settings and the high frequencies to various settings. But again, once you set it, you're just meant to leave it and forget it. You're not meant to be constantly tweaking with your sound on the back of your speakers. The idea with all of these is that the tweaking of the sound goes on your DJ gear, on your controller or your mixer. So do bear in mind that if you want to buy bigger monitor speakers, it might be worth, especially if the room you're going to use them in is not perfect, it might be worth just thinking about getting ones that have got some kind of low and high or bass and treble adjustment on the back, in order that you can set and forget that once you get it to how you want it. So there is no right answer here. You can get away with little boom boxes as long as they've got a line in and there's no delay. These kind of speakers are a really good sweet spot for a lot of hobbyists. They've got a lot of inputs and outputs, they're easy to set up and they can sound pretty good. But as soon as you move up into serious DJing and or production, you're going to want to think about well positioned, well mounted, higher quality speakers, which are separates, which have got their own amplifiers, their own power supplies and so on. And from there on up, you can just pay more and more and more for better and better quality. But past that price point, they're all going to be this type, and they're all going to be set up in the way I've just described. Right, so that's what we wanted to talk about here regarding speakers. Just to clear up a little bit of confusion, if you've just joined us, and you're thinking this said it was Phil DJing balcony beats, not speakers. It looks like the titles didn't update when we went live, so hopefully my team are dealing with them now. Apparently they're fine on Facebook. There you go. It looks like it's just YouTube and Twitch that have got the problem there. A little glitch on our system. So yeah, we're talking about speakers today, and we're talking about the best ones for DJing. So now it's over to you guys and girls. I'd like to know what you think about this. What are you using? Have you got any questions about this? Jimmy J on Mixcloud is going to start us off, who says, is there minimum recommended height for speakers, like with the deck setup? It's a great point. So the minimum recommended height for speakers is, and let me show you by using one of these. It's not so much minimum, it's there. So what you want is the tweeter to be level with your ear. Don't worry so much about the bass speaker. If you can do that, great, on stands. A lot of people can't do that. So a lot of people angle them so the tweeter is pointing at their ear, like this. That's why you see people with wedges under their speakers. A lot of people just stick them on their DJ desk, and you know that's how they have to DJ with them. In fact, in the review article I showed you of the Pioneer speakers that we had there, one of the setups was exactly that. This one here, you can see they're just put on a desk. That's very normal. So what then comes into play is what's called the sweet spot, which is the bit where you can hear everything properly, if you want the technical term for it. Lol. So the sweet spot with these speakers is going to change. And these Pioneer ones have got quite a wide treble sweet spot. It's always the high frequencies. It's always the high frequencies which are going to get you, because they're the ones that are very directional. The low frequencies you can hear everywhere. So just be aware that you really want to try and get those high frequencies right. So it's not so much minimum height. It's more getting them so that they're pointing at your ears. So I hope that was helpful. So thanks to Judge Bud over there on Mixcloud as well, just confirming that you've got the titles right. That's good to know. So more of your comments. Oh, Hot Mad Donna says, hi Phil, good to see you rested. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've had a week's holiday where we did the live stream actually. Did anyone catch the live stream from the kite surfing capital of Europe, Tarifa, which we did at the weekend? It was a lot of fun. We took our portable live streaming gear out there. We enjoyed that. Wouldn't have been any outdoor live streaming in Derbyshire because Phil says it's snowy there as well. Graham says, I didn't see many tourists on your stream. No, the place was absolutely deserted because we're not allowed to move. No one's allowed to go anywhere. We just stuck under the radar into the next province, and yeah, there weren't many people around at all. So hopefully that all changes before the summer. Hi to Steve watching the Virgin Islands. So speakers, talk to me about speakers, people. Thoughts on Hercules 32 smart monitors, says Seda. You get what you pay for. They're probably quite similar in quality to these, Seda, these little M Audio BX4s. I'm sure they're fine. I haven't tested that exact model. Technobeat says, welcome back. What are you using? Tell me about your speakers. DJ Adrian Hargarden says, I don't even have speakers in the house. I do all my DJing in my HT25 headphones, but I had to go on the Pioneers and I like them, but I do prefer the KRK Rocket. If we're talking about the big name speakers, we've got KRK Rockets, we've got Adam Audio are very big, Pioneer are very big as well, because a lot of people want the same speakers that they're using for their, for their gear. By the way, can you see my little boy, Dylan? See that there? That's his iPad. Just sat in the background there, out of focus. His daughter's gone to dance practice, so I'm babysitting. If you're allowed to babysit your own kids. He's got headphones on, hasn't got a clue what I'm saying. So there we go. More of your questions about speakers. Kung Fu Man says, I'm going to use my JVC boombox as a control with my DDJ 400. Again, just check if there's any latency on the audio there. That would be the thing which causes you issues potentially. Hello to everyone who's just saying, yeah, there was a slight issue with the title on YouTube, so sorry about that. I think that's been fixed now. So Parliament says, are we just discussing static speaker setup? Will there be a mobile speaker setup discussion as well? These work for mobile as long as you get one that hasn't got that delay. On my live stream, I use a tiny little speaker by a company called Mini Rig. In fact, let me find that one. Let me get that one on the screen for you. I've had this speaker for years. It's a really, really nice little speaker for the volume compared to the volume and quality are very good. So I've just Google imaged it for you to show you. Here we go. This little speaker here. Mini Rig 3. It's got apparently 100 hours of battery life now. Wow. But the thing I like about this is it's very well made, and it goes really loud, frankly. And that means that it's a good thing to carry around with you, throw in your DJ bag. And I use these just to DJ from, it gives me immediate loud enough to DJ audio wherever I go, and they're tiny and they come with a nice little carry case, as you can see there. So that's one I recommend, the Mini Rig 3 at minirigs.co.uk for a portable speaker. Right, so let's ask about, some of you are talking about PA speakers. Now, we're deliberately not talking about PA speakers here. We're deliberately not talking about speakers to take out and play out and about. We're talking about practice speakers. So come back on Thursday. If you've got a question that's not covered by what we're talking about here, whatever it is, come back on Thursday and we can help you with that then. So War Machine says, are those the VM series, those big speakers you've got there? Yes, these are the Pioneer VM70s I've got here. We've just done the review of these, the written review. We're preparing the video review now, so if you're interested in these, keep an eye on Digital DJ Tips. We'll get back to you with that full written review. Are we only talking about speakers to use at home? Yes, we are, but we can talk about speakers to use in clubs later if you want, in another one of these. So someone on Facebook saying bi-amped and front ported all the way. So bi-amped means you have a separate amplifier for the top and bottom speaker, basically the treble and the woofer speaker. And front ported, well, these speakers I've got here aren't front ported, but it's a good time for me to show you what porting is. So porting is where on the back of the speaker you have this hole here. And it's literally a hole going to the back of the speaker, and it allows the air to move in and out of the speaker as the bass kicks, and it basically gives you better bass response. But the question is, should that hole be on the front or should it be on the back? So on this speaker, I'm looking around to see if I've got any front ported speakers here, but don't think we have. On this speaker, it's obviously on the back. Some speakers have it on the front, quite often underneath, down here underneath the woofer. It doesn't really matter where it is. Some people prefer front, some people prefer back. You can actually feel the air moving when you put your hand by it. The thing with back porting is you don't want it too close to a wall because it stops the air moving and it kind of defeats the object. But you know, the jury's out on that one. But porting is a good thing. And even these little M Audios, if I show you on the overhead camera, these have got a little port there for the bass. It just makes it more efficient. So thanks for that comment on porting. Let's now move on about some other subjects. I'm just looking down on the list now. If you can help Tobias out, my team on Facebook, who wants to know about the laptop stand. Everyone wants to know about the laptop stand. DJ Scojo69 uses the M Audio speakers I've got here for practicing. And finds that they are pretty cool. Craig is very happy with his Rocket KRK 5s. No, they're a very good speaker. I agree too. Someone else, Zen Shin, thinking about the Rockets, but liking the look of the Pioneers as well. Technobeat says, are monitor speakers really necessary? I have a TV that can accept audio in via 3.5mm jack to RCAs. I was planning on connecting my phone with the DDJ200, which I'm soon to have, to the TV for audio out. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Look, what you want is two things. One, you want to be near enough to it. You don't want it on the other side of the room because DJing is about having that audio near you. Two, it has to go loud enough. It has to get loud enough so you can lose yourself in it. Otherwise, what's the point, right? You don't want to have tinny music that is like a transistor radio, not like a proper sound. As long as it's loud enough, as long as it's close to you, and as long as there is no latency, so in other words, a wire and no digital trickery like you find on some speakers like this that give you a bit of a delay, which is no good, you are going to be fine. So I would say use your TV system. With a lot of people, their TV sound system is easily the best one in the whole house, right? Especially if you've bought a sound bar or surround speakers, absolutely fine. Stuart says, I use the Adam Audio T7Vs. After upgrading from the popular KRK Rocket 6s, the Adams are excellent. So yeah, Adam Audio, KRK, Pioneer DJ, these are the kind of big names in this area. So the Anker Soundcore Motion Plus doesn't have latency issues, only $99. Thank you to our user on Facebook who's shared that. That was the speaker I was thinking of. So Soundcore Motion Plus, if you want to buy a speaker like this that you know is going to work fine, plugged into your DJ gear, that is the one to go for. Size and shape of room and positioning are important factors. Indeed they are. Thank you for sharing that. So is there any way to know the limits of your speakers? I've got a pair of Rocket RP5s that I plan to use at house parties. I don't want to blow them. Any tips on how to know their limits? Do not use monitor speakers at house parties is my tip. They're not made for it, and you are likely to cause some damage, and if not you, someone else is. Turning it up too loud when everyone's had a few drinks and it just isn't loud enough, because it's invariably never loud enough. So you turn it up too loud, at the very least you're going to start blowing fuses. At the worst you might even blow speakers, and they're not made for that. They haven't got grills on the front. They're not right for using in those circumstances. The best thing to use is a PA system that is designed for it. So one of the systems that the reason we recommend this is that we know it, and we know it works brilliantly in these circumstances, is the LD Dave systems. So you can just Google LD systems Dave and you'll find a whole load of systems like this one here, for instance. This one here, they don't cost too much. They will sound so much better than your home speakers. And here is the absolute sucker punch. You can use these at home as well. Just use it at home and take it out to gigs with you. If you know you're going to want to use your speakers at gigs, buy speakers that you can use at gigs and use them at home as well. So that would be my firm recommendation. And if not, just rent them. Just go and rent some speakers for your party, but do not try and use speakers like the ones that we've got here at parties. The only one you can get away with at a party is this little one, because it'll sound rubbish, but you won't blow it up, because it's designed to be turned up to 11 and not go wrong. Right, just trying to get back to my comment camera. We've got some changes to our system here, and the old buttons are in different places, which is enough to catch me out. So yeah, just don't do it. Sorry to bring you that bad news, but you really shouldn't. One or two more speaker questions before we go. Thank you to Steve, by the way, for sitting in last week on this slot. If you're enjoying this, please do hit that share button. That's all we ask in order to help us pay this forward. Someone on Facebook, KRK Rocket 5s for 5 years, and I love them. Could you use the Bose S1 Pros for monitors and PA? Yes, exactly, Miguel. That's exactly what I'm saying there. So DJ99, I only use bookshelf speakers, but I'll upgrade someday. You know, hi-fi speakers are fine for DJing with at home. Stevie says, why haven't you mentioned the Mini Rig 3 for small house party? Yeah, you know, anything like this, any of these tiny little Bluetooth speakers will be fine for house parties. There's no problem with those. It's when you try and use monitor speakers that are designed for DJs at home in house party situations, because at the very least, someone's going to stick their finger through the cone. But I've just seen too many people make difficult mistakes that cost them a lot of money to recommend that you ever do that. But yeah, the mini rig's absolutely fine for house parties. They're not going to go loud, you know. They're okay for giving you background audio, but you're not going to get earth-shattering bass out of a tiny little speaker like that. So lots of you asking that same question about whether to use, you know, small PA systems at home. Yeah, definitely. So Lucas uses the Adam T5Vs for DJing and production. Going beyond that is probably overkill for most of us, and I think you're probably right. Lots of you just using headphones, saying, does it really matter about speaker delays if it's just for other people in the room? No, but it's bloody annoying. It's just annoying to hear the hi-hats from the speaker out of sync with what's going on in your headphones. Personally, I think you should get speakers without that delay. One or two more of these today. Apparently it's mental in Manchester. It always was when I lived there. DJ 2 AM, always was when I lived there. Apparently it's now snowing, even though it's been sunny for a few days, so there we go. Pepe uses a pair of HK Polar 10s. Great sound and power. Thank you for sharing that. Diagonal angling my speakers was a great tip I had from you from years ago, says Craig. So, well, I'm glad that helped you. Graham just uses a single Bose speaker, so there we go. This is a good question. Would RCA, XLR or aux speaker plugs be the way to go? It doesn't really matter in your home, unless you're tracking down some weird buzz or hum or whatever. It doesn't really matter which you use. It's when you run over a longer distance that the TRS cables or the XLR cables become better, because they're far more shielded, so that the audio arrives in better condition at your speaker. But at home, the kind of distances you're running cables, it really doesn't make any difference. Nick says, how do people tell that they haven't got the speakers too loud to annoy the neighbours? Do you just push it until they complain and then go a bit lower than that next time? It does remind me of a joke, which I'll tell you, about someone saying that they had they were playing a house party. I'll try and get the joke right. They were listening to music late one night, and someone knocked on the door and said, "Can you have you got a little respect?" And he said, "I don't really like Erasure, but I'll play that for you anyway." I didn't get the joke very well then. The meme was better. But anyway, what do you do about volume when your neighbours are there? Look, you just have to find out. That's the best way. You know, you don't have to live too long in one place to find out what the neighbours will and won't put up with. It's always the bass that's going to annoy people. There's nothing you can do about it. You can put them on stands, you can put them anywhere you want. It doesn't make any difference. You know, it's going to travel through walls. It is going to annoy people. If it's a party, invite them. And, you know, the adult way of doing this is to come to some kind of arrangement. You know, we're lucky. We live in Latin area, you know, we're in Gibraltar, but this is Latin land down here, and people have got far more tolerance for noise, shall we say, than in Northern Europe. But there are still limits, and you just need to ask. And you know, if people work shifts, sometimes they don't want you to play music in the daytime because they're sleeping, but they're happy for you to do it at night. Great, come home from work and crank it up. You don't know unless you ask. So I think it's just a case of asking and being adult about it. That's the way I would and do always approach these things. A few of you asking the difference about between balanced and unbalanced audio. So yeah, balanced is better. Doesn't matter over short distance. Hello, Chris. Good to see you here, and I hope Liam's okay. So the Rockish uses JBL 305 Mark IIs, and they sound great. So there we go. And Dave has recently upgraded from M-Audio BX5s, which are the big brothers to these little BX4s, to KRK Rocket 7s, and says both are great, but the extra bass of the Rockets has made it better for DJing too. One thing you could do is buy a bass subwoofer as well, which all of these companies have to go with their speakers, which really will give you kind of club bass, but your neighbours probably won't like it. Tony uses Mackie CR3s and probably recommends them, or wouldn't be telling us that. And our final comment of the day is going to be, I'm just looking for a question rather than a comment. Lots of you just telling us what you're using, which is cool. Yamaha HS speakers, yeah, they're great. They are uncompromising producer speakers. Driver John agrees. A pair of HS5s, they're perfect for my small bedroom setup. DJ Zan is saying that the Hercules Monitor 32, Sadie was asking earlier, are great. Modish uses Minirig 3, the speaker that we use as well. No, there's no delay on Minirig speakers, Stevie, don't worry about that. Pioneer DM40s, a recommendation from Smidsy, is a real budget speaker. Right, so I'm just looking for a final question. I've already covered the difference between the cable types, so I don't want to end up on that one. Just scrolling through the questions. So you see, you know we're live, don't you? Because I don't do any of this. I don't practice any of this. I just find questions and pull them out when they look interesting. But I think most people here, most of these questions here are answered. Caesar, connect to your laptop for sure. To your controller, not your laptop, just to give you a quick answer to that question. A vote for the Bose S1 Pros. Nice balanced audio, says Jonas there. And here's our final question then. So, hi Phil, I have a Sony SRS XB40 speaker for home use, and I noticed it can distort before my mixer goes into the red. Is this normal for small speakers? Yes, it is. There's a lot of compromise on small speakers. Just, you know, DJ with them until they start distorting and learn where that point is the truth, really. I mean, that's why, if we're going to be getting into all seriousness, that's why you will progress from speakers like this to at least speakers like this, and one day probably to speakers like this, because you just miss it. I mean, I use some Pioneer speakers, some of they've got some, another one a bit higher up in the range than this. I use these at home for the live streams, and to me they just sound all right until I use anything else. And then I'm like, God, those Pioneers are good. Because you just get used to what you've got, right? And so you're always going to move up, not down. But that said, things like this are great because you're never going to replace them. There's always a need for a portable speaker. And again, disclaimer, this one's not very good for DJing. It has a slight audio delay even when wired. But things like the Ankler Soundcore, the Minirig 3, they're great. You're not going to get rid of it when you upgrade your speakers. So we tend to find a use for all the speakers we've got anyway. I think truth is DJs can't really have too many of these, can they? You always find somewhere to put your older speakers when you get your new ones. So, okay, we're done for today. This has been Tuesday Tips Live. Sorry for those of you that got the wrong titles temporarily at the beginning. We've corrected all that now. It's been great to be back. Again, thank you to Steve Canuetto for sitting in last week while I had a holiday. And thanks to Ben for sitting in on Thursday Q&A Live last week. Remember, if you enjoy this stuff, subscribe. That's how to do it on YouTube. You know how to do it wherever you are. Hello to everyone on Twitch and on Mixcloud and Facebook as well. But also, please do hit that share button if you've enjoyed this. That's what helps us to do these things. And finally, if you want to grab a DJ course and you don't want to pay full price, now is the time to do it, because right now on Digital DJ Tips, all of our courses are up to 45% off. All you got to do is go to digitaldjtips.com, click this big Easter sale banner here, and then pick the course or courses you want, and you can see the savings right there on the screen. It's the Easter sale, so therefore it's not on for much longer. So if you have been thinking of teaching yourself something new or stocking up on courses, waiting for the next sale, now is your moment. Head over there and grab one while you can. So this has been Phil for Digital DJ Tips. Sorry for everyone whose questions I couldn't answer, but do come back on Thursday for Thursday Q&A Live, when we can cover lots more of your questions. Thank you, stay safe, get good, get out there and make the moments, people, and I'll see you again next time. Till then, bye-bye.